nakikita mo yung mga hearings, na ganda-ganda na mga hearings, ang babastos ng mga senador. Bakit sila ang nag-iimbestiga? Sila ang may kasalanan eh. Except ang corruption natin world class. Paano natin? You know what the Philippines is? Highly politically corrupt. Itong flood control projects na yon, Diyos ko po, nakakasuka. When the politicians keep them poor, they're easier to manage. Why don't we identify these politicians so that we can blacklist them? Kasi ang gusto ng mga senador at kongresista, i-blacklist yung mga kontratista who have been unsatisfied. I agree. But we should also blacklist those politicians who have been making money from the guts of the Filipino people.
How do you blacklist a kongresista? Okay, ang panauhin ko ngayon needs no introduction. Professor ko ito kahit sa Econ 11 pa lang at 101. Pero para sa maraming Pilipinong nagsubaybay sa balita, para na rin nilang profesor. At bago tayo magpatuloy, mag-subscribe naman kayo, paki-click ito, mag-like na rin, at kung may suggestion kayo ng kausapang Real with Luchi, put it down in the comment section and we'll do our level best to get it for you. Si Mareng Winnie Monsod.
At Professor Rini Lucci.
Talaga, professor ko talaga
Okay.
literal.
Sige.
Alam nyo, si Professor Monsod, ekonomista, academician, pero minsan na ring nagsilbi sa pamahalaan ni Cory Aquino bilang, NEDA. Siya talaga ang nakakaalam ng dapat tahakin ng ekonomiya. Pero mula noon hanggang ngayon, gusto ko malaman anong pananaw niya sa naging landas ng Pilipinas sa usaping pang-ekonomiya. But
I mean,
you know, I was
like
saying,
you were talking about the entire economy. I thought we were talking about flood control.
we are,
Okay, let's
but
talk
you know,
about,
we have
and
to
then
make
we will
the
go to
connection.
the economy. We'll make the connection.
Yes.
I would really love to make the connection.
Exactly.
And you know, para malaman ng Pilipino kung ano ang talagang nawawala sa kanila. Akala nila itong mga circus lang ito, mga corruption, etc. Naku, ang nawawala sa kanila, pwede bang sabihin limpak na pera.
Talaga.
And we will try to calculate it.
Sige nga, ma'am, ikalkula nga natin kasi ang nakikita
Okay.
lang natin yung ilan ang namatay sa baha, di ba? Ilan ang kabahayang nasira, ilan ang negosyong naapektuhan.
Pero
Anong
yan
kalkulasyon?
ay that's a very small portion of what is lost by corruption in the Philippines. Kasi flood control, 400 in the past 3 years is 400 billion. Pero yung infrastructure budget ng gobyerno is over 1 trillion or some huge amount like that, every year. Because flood, yung budget ng infrastructure napakalaki ngayon. Mas malaki pa sa budget ng education, which is unconstitutional.
Yes.
Let's talk about ang nangyayari ngayon. Nakikita mo yung mga hearings, ganda-ganda na mga hearings, ang babastos ng mga senador. I don't know whether bastusin yung mga kongresista, but I was watching the Senate hearings and how they treat those contractors, parang criminal na those contractors
Mali ba yun? Mali ba yun?
Of course. Those contractors are supposed to be presumed innocent until they are proven guilty. tingnan mo, bakit mali? In the first place, itong mga hearings na ito, ang kinoconcentrate nila, ang focus nila, yung kontratista at the DPWH. Pero hindi ba yung privilege speech ni Lacson, sinabi niya kung ano ang allocation ng mga corruption. Kung titignan mo yung sinabi ni Senator Lacson, kung tama ang kanyang
Report.
ang kanyang report, ang politicians get 25 to 31% of the every 100 million that is given to flood control. Kontratista gets only 8 to 10%. Kung may that's what he is allowed. 8 to 10% profit, the kontratista. And the DPWH gets 15 to 19%. You check it out.
Yes.
You know, I looked at all the data. So actually, the ones who get the most money out of this whole flood control is not the DPWH. It's not the kontratista. It's ating mga politicians. Ayun ang sinabi ni Senator Lacson. And everybody is following him. Lahat tinutukoy yung privilege speech ni Lacson, etc. Siyang palaging tinatanong. Siyang expert dyan. So I say, why are they not asking questions of themselves? Bakit sila ang nag-iimbestiga? Sila ang may kasalanan eh.
That's exactly how many people, I think that most people feel.
And we are our concentration is being, moved around to disguise whatever, 28
luxury vehicles.
Well, okay. Not that I am in favor of this guy or anything like that, but she has been the most upfront, right? She got interviewed. She was very proud of her cars. She wasn't ashamed.
Unhidden wealth na nga.
Well, that's the point. All right. According to the estimates, her company has gotten 40, merong range ang estimates, 31 billion to 40 billion.
Right.
All right, of contracts.
9 companies.
I don't care. The whole total, 31 to 40 billion. You may not like me for saying this, but I just want to bring it up. So, if they are allowed a profit of 8 to 10%, let's say it's 10%, nobody gets 8% profit, 10%, they have 3 billion or 4 billion earned on the up and up, right?
Yes.
3 billion to 4 billion. So what is 400 million for cars? It's 1/10.
So kung
You ask
tutuusin,
a household, a Filipino family, how much a car costs in their budget. It's more than 10%. So why are you, bakit natin
so
sinisita?
you're saying they're living within their means.
All I'm saying, assuming it's all on the up and up,
Yes.
that's the arithmetic. If she got 41 billion in projects or 31 billion in projects, she got 3.1 billion pesos or 4.1 billion pesos. Okay, she said 400 million on the cars. What's that? It's 10%, 12% of her budget. That is within the budget estimates of families who buy a car.
Yeah.
So I'm
I
saying
get you.
too much concentration on contratistas. And listen, I've only seen her. I watched the videos, etc. They seemed completely happy. They weren't hiding anything. So that's my take. Okay. So contratistas, they only get 8 to 10%. But according to Senator Lacson, ang nakukuha ng porsyento ng mga politiko natin is from 25 to 31%. Bakit tayo why do we focus on poor Sara Diskaya. Why? Because she bought these cars. But look at the expenditures of the congressmen. Aren't they the ones who get from rags to riches when they're in Congress? And they're not investigating that. They're concentrating on DPWH. And I say to myself, shit, why don't they concentrate on themselves? And the public naman, because, mga Bentley and Mercedes, yung mga kanilang mga kongresista, when we halongkat, and it's been halongkated already, whatever it's called. You know what this nepo. Look at that. And that is, so many congressmen do that. Look at the PCIJ report. They said, what are the takeaways from what is going on? It is, it's so good to be the head of the Congressional Appropriations Committee, because the Elizalde Co. or something
is
of
the
Bicol,
chair, was the
Jesus, Mary and Joseph, he's a kontratista pala. But that's not being emphasized in the hearings now. Not a word about who the politicians are. Not a word. And yet that can be easily gotten. Because in the last budget, ang sabi ng ang flood control, akalain mo sinabi ng Congress, yung House of Representatives, yung flood control dapat i-divide equally among all the congressional districts. Tanong ko naman sa'yo, ang Makati ba kailangan ng flood control? Hindi. Bakit nila tayo bibigyan? They want divide by N. So why do they want to do that? So that they can all get their commissions or SOP, etc. Nakakahiya. Okay. Ayan ang nakakahiya.
Well, Ma'am, si Chel Jokno nagsalita sa opening ng hearing ng Congress. At yun ang unang-unang kinwestiyon niya, na dapat daw may full disclosure muna ang mga kongresistang naroon sa hearing kung meron silang conflict of interest.
I agree with him 100%, and these congressmen and these senators should agree with him. They should. How can you investigate your own selves? And that's why in their investigation, nobody hears about congressmen and senators. And the only one I've read, who actually named was PCIJ. And they named, Senate President Chis Escudero and Elizalde Co. They at least had the honesty. Why do our media not bring this up? Why? Why do our media play along na ang emphasis on the kontratista and on the DPWH? Hindi ba, halatang-halata, sinabi na ni Senator Lacson na ang mga politiko ang kumukuha ng the biggest part. So before they even investigate each other, they have to investigate themselves. I'm very leery about what is happening, and I want the public to be leery about what is happening. They should ask, sino-sino ba ang mga kongresista at mga senador na merong... Okay?
Tama.
Okay.
Pero, ma'am, just so I can address the elephant in the room, because you blame media, and I was once a part of the media,
also blame
but I also see that they're covering everything. They're not making enough of a commentary. Maybe it's their way of being balanced,
Except
not making
PCIJ,
excuses.
Rappler is also very good.
We need more investigative, for sure.
Yes.
Journalism.
And this and the results of their investigation should be completely publicized by everybody. you know, because it's actually based on data.
Right. Yeah.
And they're not scared of naming names because they have the evidence to back them up. They say, if you want the SEC files
Right.
that we have, you press this, press this button, and all the SEC files naming, with all those
Kompleto
contract
sa ebidensya.
Merong,
That's true,
meron
that's
talagang
true.
basehan sila.
Yes.
Ito.
Yeah. Anyway,
God.
ma'am, so, maganda yan, pinakita nyo rin kung sino ang dapat na iniimbestigahan. And you're saying in effect na yung mga public tuloy, they're left in the dark, in effect, kung
Yes.
saan talagang issue. Ito naman ang tanong ko. Meron bang complicity rin yung public dyan? Kasi sila ang mga nasa poder. Yan ang sinasabi ngayon, no? Ano nangyari?
Sino
Bakit?
naglagay sa poder? I mean, who was the one that put these people in power? Hindi ba tayo?
So we're all
Hindi ba nga?
complicit.
No, really. And why do we put them in power? Because they buy us. Di ba, ang dami-daming vote buying dyan. It may be, they may not be buying my vote, but they may be buying so many other people's vote, and those people put them in power. And those people don't realize that once they're in power, they get so much more from the general public than what they have paid to the general
Let's
public.
calculate that.
Okay. Let's take one approach.
Election.
Here. Let's take one approach. So, yung total.
Yeah.
Not just flood control, not just. So the election, they are paid. Let us say they are paid 3,000 pesos every 3 years because every 3 years may election. So that's 1,000 pesos a year. They get 1,000 pesos a year. Okay. How much do they lose a year? One way of looking at it is say, what has the country lost in terms of corruption? In other words, because there is corruption, there is slower growth. I mean, because so much is, instead of spending 50 million on this project, you're spending 100 million, you're wasting, right? There is slower growth. Ang Pilipinas, di ba noon, ang Pilipinas, 1960 ito, 1960, mas malaki ang ating per capita income divided by all the Filipinos, kesa sa per capita income ng Thailand, kesa sa per capita income ng Indonesia, kesa sa per capita income ng China. Ang per capita income natin noong 1960, 3 times more than China's per capita
Wow.
income. I swear, you will cry, nakakaiyak. And in Thailand, we were about almost 40% more than Thailand's per capita income. And Indonesia, doble tayo. Ngayon, saan tayo?
Saan na?
Indonesia, Thailand, China, their income is so much greater than our per capita income. And so you say, why? Why did they grow so fast and we grow so little? Di ba? Because when you grow, your per capita income becomes small. All right. Nakita ng mga saliksik ba yan, yung studies, that the biggest factor affecting these differences is government policy and institutions. Anong ibig sabihin yan? Yung patakaran ng gobyerno at saka yung mga institutions. What you mean is, how good is the Congress as an institution, how good is COMELEC as an institution. Ayan. So, halatang-halata that we grew less than them because our policies were wrong and our institutions
Or weak.
were corrupt, were weak, corruption, etc.
But they
So,
will say,
how much,
okay.
what does that mean?
Okay.
Ganito ang ginawa ko, Kung, halimbawa, tayo ay nag-grow as fast as China.
Okay, kung nasabayan natin.
If we had grown as much as China during these years, do you know how much our per capita income would be? $24,000 per, purchasing
Wow.
power. What is it now? It's $3,000. Okay?
Yung mga nanonood ngayon, makasabihin, bakit corrupt din naman yung mga Chinese, Corrupt din naman yung mga Indonesian.
That's
Ngayon nga, grabe
very
yung
good
protesta
point.
ngayon.
Except ang corruption natin world class. Paano natin?
World class tayo.
Parang si Pacquiao. No, that's not a joke. Ang World
So
Economic
tragic if it
Forum
weren't
nagkaroon ng survey about the countries that are politically are corrupt. And may survey sila, how do you this corruption, everybody's corrupt, but like for example Singapore is minimally corrupt. Indonesia and Thailand are medium corrupt. You know what the Philippines is? Highly politically corrupt. We are in the same level as Venezuela, the mga countries in Africa.
Africa.
We're the only
Sudan.
country in Asia that was considered highly politically corrupt. So
Shame.
there is corruption and corruption. But for example, the Indonesians, in the corruption of Indonesia, they're corrupt, no question about it. But they do the projects, especially infrastructure projects. Those infrastructure projects are there forever. Yun tayo
Okay.
Sa Cagayan de Oro, September natapos yung bridge, November wala na. That's highly politically corrupt. And itong flood control projects na yon, Diyos ko po, nakakasuka. Because sabi nga, imagine from 2011 to 2025, we have spent 1.7 trillion pesos. It's not 1,000,
Grabe, no?
it's not 1 million, it's not 1 billion, it's 1 trillion pesos. That was, by that time, if we had spent that properly, the Philippines would be completely immune to floods. And yet, what do you say? We lose lives, we lose days of work, we lose,
Property.
Housing, everything. That's what we lose for corruption. Thailand, by the way, is now almost 3 times our per capita income. Indonesia is almost 2 times our per capita income. Even Vietnam, Diyos ko po.
I know, nauna na tayo.
Naunahan na tayo noong 2019.
Yeah.
That's
Sa
corruption.
Asia yata we're only ahead of Sri Lanka, if I'm not mistaken. No.
We're ahead of Cambodia, but I'm afraid Cambodia is. I used to watch before because I've been teaching economics for so long.
Yes, I know.
Before, sabi ko, Thailand, nothing. We were sending, we were sending them help, except they accepted our help and used it properly. We sent help to Vietnam for rice. They accepted their help and used it properly. Now
we're
Thailand
the
and
ones.
Vietnam are exporting, and we are importing. That's corruption for you.
So sinong may sala, ma'am? Sino may sala? Taong bayan?
Well,
for
government.
voting the wrong people?
Well, we are a democratic country. We elect people, right? We elect people.
So are our neighbors.
So who are the people we elect? They're our leaders. In the final analysis, we are at fault. That's why they say we get the government we deserve.
Pero nag-improve ba from the point of Cory, people power,
Of course,
onwards to, ERAP,
Of course.
FDR, ERAP, and then Gloria?
But your logic is the same as the logic that was employed to me by a vice president of World Bank. She said, but the Philippines grew anyway. And I said, yes, but we could have grown much more. I mean, why should I be happy when the Philippines grew by 2% on the average over the 50-year period from 1960 to 2010, when everybody was growing at 4% and 6%? Why should I be happy? You should be happy. At least you grew. What the hell? Who do you want me to compare with? I will not compare. God, there are some countries that contracted over that 50-year period. But am I going to be happy because the Philippines did not contract yung lumiit? Of course not. I will compare myself with my neighbors. Ano bang ginawa nila? Akala ko Thailand was nothing. Tapos naunahan tayo ng Thailand. Sabi ko, Indonesia, wow, they have 200 million people, 250 million people. They have a greater problem. Naunahan tayo.
So how?
Tapos, Vietnam noong 2019, naunahan pa tayo. Diyos ko po.
Saklap talaga.
Well, what is that? Ano yan? That is because our government, our politicians are so bad. Why are they bad? Because they put themselves ahead of the country. If I am a politician, I'm going to try to make the best for the country. But politicians generally, unless they are stopped by law, by everything, they will try to make the best for themselves.
Yun
They
na
try
nga.
to maximize the best.
Wala
And
nga raw
then,
accountability.
They say, oh wow, this is so good, I better give it to my children.
Yeah.
And so we have dynasties all over the place. Why do you think? How much is the government salary? How much? And yet they take it because they abuse their power. They abuse their power.
But yun na nga, ma'am.
And they're not going to change it until we, the Filipinos, say, you got to change it.
Parang we seem to be trapped in some kind of conundrum.
This is
I mean,
not-
we vote people we believed were going to help change the system.
You do?
But-
I mean, do the Filipinos really vote for the people they think will change the system?
You're
Or
saying
will they
that
vote for
we
the
have not
politician
changed
who gives them more money?
election-wise? You're saying we have not changed election-wise. We haven't educated ourselves voting-wise.
Well, you think it's education? It's only education. I mean, when the politicians keep them poor, they're easier to manage, right? It's shown. It's shown. Areas where there are political dynasties, the people have less income, less education, etc. Those are studies that have been completed all over the
Yes.
Philippines. And yet, you have people say, oh, magaling naman yung tao yan. Let the people decide. Why do you think Congress has not passed an anti-dynasty bill
That's
for the
really-
past 30 whatever years we
it's
have?
a $60
They have not
million
passed it.
question.
Why?
Interest
Because it's
nila
bad
yun eh.
for them, right? And not only have they not passed the bill, but they have also corrupted the party list system.
They have. Well, Supreme Court also ruled. I mean, pinayagan yung mga non-reps.
Yeah.
So,
I
to be sure, I
that's
mean-
one of the things that has to be. Because, ang sabi ng Supreme Court, you don't have to be poor to be an advocate of the poor.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah.
true too. But the basic reason for getting the party list system, this is according to my husband who was
Yes,
who
Constitutional Commission member,
You know, that
yes.
party list system was supposed to give the
Marginal.
marginalized
Yeah.
a seat in Congress until they were powerful enough to be able to.
Ito yung mga
Yeah.
ito yung mga kumakatawan sa mga walang boses, di ba? Dahil
Yes.
sa kahirapan or dahil
Yeah.
maliit lang ang porsyento ng
And we have seen
populasyon.
how, look at Elizalde ko. He was,
Ako
ako Bicol.
Bicol.
Jesus. Look at Martin Romualdez.
Yeah.
His wife and his son are party list Congress people. Please naman, why are you doing this to the poor? They have, the Constitution gave them that, that pataan, they gave them that advantage, and then the political dynasties got that and used it for themselves. Isn't that yung talagang, I don't know, it's brazen. Garapalan yan. They don't care. I mean, I have nothing against Martin's wife and his son. They're nice people. But they should not, they should not be a party list. Who do they represent?
How do we change this?
Well, we can start. Let's start with the present. Those hearings in Congress. Why do people say, why are you concentrating on this kontratista and the DPWH? Hindi ba sinabi ni Senator Lacson na 25 to 31% of the money is going to politicians? Why don't we identify these politicians so that we can blacklist them? Kasi ang gusto ng mga senador at kongresista, i-blacklist yung mga kontratistas who have been unsatisfied. I agree. But we should also blacklist those politicians who have been making money from the guts of the
How do you
Filipino
blacklist a congressista?
people. Well, just say,
They're already there. They're seated. Oh.
no. It's not now. When they run for re-election, you say, this man got X amount of pesos, from the Filipino people. You want to vote him in?
But we have short memories.
Oh, well.
Yan ang sinasabi nga.
Well, that's where the communications and
Kasi
the media comes.
2025 pa lang ngayon.
That's where the
2028
communications and the
ang
media
election.
come. Well, we have TikTok, we have social media, etc. They're very, very active. I'm sure it will come.
You're sure?
Well, my favorite subject is we have to get the barangays. It's the smallest unit of government.
Aren't they already captured also?
They were not meant to be captured, but they were captured like the party list system has been captured. But we can get it back. Why? Because we're the one that's voting. Surely, yung barangay, surely we can do that. Let's not concentrate on up first kasi matagal yung up eh. But you said, okay, let's blacklist the politicians. Let's get the names of the politicians and we will bring it out on television. Ito ang mga nakuha ng politicians. And then maybe we should send some of them to jail.
Accountability.
What happened to, what's his name? I don't know. Who was that woman who bought so many?
Janet Napoles.
Yeah.
PDAF.
Yeah. What happened to the politicians? They all got away.
Exactly.
They all got away.
That's why.
So we will try again this time. I mean, you got to fight. Democracy is not something that you just smell and enjoy. You fight for it. Wala akong magagawa. I mean, I cannot say anything anymore. You get control of your barangay. Because if you get control of your barangay, the barangay is what makes up the municipality. So if the people get control of their barangay, they get control of the municipality. And if they get control of the municipalities, they get control of the provinces. And then what's next? The nation. But it's a long, long fight. We know that it's a hard fight. We'll just go and continue. You tell your children, you tell everybody who listens, we can do it. Oh, Hong Kong, it's a small country. It did it. It got rid of the corruption. I don't know what it is now because it went back to China. But they did it. They did it. Singapore is one of the least corrupt.
Yes.
There's corruption in Singapore,
Yes.
no question
Wala
about
namang
it.
100% clean.
Well, there's There's no such thing. And we have, we measure ourselves. There is a corruption perception index.
Yes.
Tayo number 111
133.
or whatever.
133.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
Bad, really bad.
Yeah.
Do you know when it was okay?
Yeah.
When our corruption index was the highest? It was
Noy.
during
2014.
time.
Yeah.
No, we were 89.
2014. I mean, during in 2014.
89.
Yeah.
But what did Noy do? Hindi ba there were senators who were jailed? Remember? Of course, they got away with it.
Yeah.
But they were jailed. So many people were jailed.
Chief
Congressman,
Justice.
The chief. So that reverberated across the world. And you know that at that time, the Philippines was one of the top investment destinations.
Yes.
At that time.
And our credit
that's
rating
why
went up.
Noynoy said, kailangan yung constitutional change. Tignan nyo. We are one of the top 10. What happened? Because Noynoy, remember his reign was corrupt, walang mahirap.
Yeah.
That is a true statement. That is an accurate statement. And he was the only one. When he died, where did he die? Did he have a palace? Did he have thousands of cars? Nothing. He died in his mother's house. So we should have a lifestyle check on all our officials.
Let me ask you about that. Bongbong Marcos has actually ordered a lifestyle
Start with himself,
check.
baby. You have to start with yourself. How can people believe you if they know that you cannot? So you have to start with yourself. But they always want to concentrate on the least common denominator. So they're concentrating on the contractors.
Yeah.
But the contractors can only get 12%, 8 to 10%. At least that's what's his name.
Pero buti nga, sabi nga ni Bishop David, di ba? Power porn daw. Meaning, dinidisplay na ngayon ang kayamanan sa social media.
Because they can get away with it so much. Why do they get away with it so much? They should be jailed. They should be arrested. The Philippines has
But they're followed.
No,
they're
alam mo.
viewed. And to a certain degree, on social media, they're admired for the wealth that they enjoy. How do you fight that?
You don't fight it. You just go and implement the law.
Yeah.
Do you know that a government employee, if there is a question about his, hidden wealth or whatever, it's a priori. It's
Assumed.
It's assumed that he is guilty. That's the only time you are presumed guilty until you can prove yourself innocent. That's what our law says.
Baligtad, no?
That's what
Baligtad.
Yes. In other
Instead
words, if
parang innocent until proven guilty.
No,
Ito
but
hindi.
if you're a government employee, that's what our law says. And that law was passed in 1962 or something like
What
that.
happened to that law?
It's not implemented.
Parang laging prove it.
Prove it.
Yeah, show
that's
the
why
evidence.
The lifestyle check. Whatever. Prove it. You have to prove that you have gotten this legally. We have a Philippine healthcare system. Who do we put there?
Yeah.
Do we put there people who know the healthcare problems, who know medicine, who know... No. We put them payback time
Military.
for politicians.
Okay.
Until there's so many things we can do.
Yeah.
If we had the right leadership and, top down and bottom up, and then we will meet somewhere in the middle.
Okay. From a macroeconomic standpoint, graft and corruption has been identified as a threat to national security.
That has been-
How close are we to actually putting at risk our national security
You mean to say...
dahil
you
sa
mean to say-
laganap na korupsyon?
Well, look at that Chinese guy who was just caught recently. How many other people are like that have not been caught? The Alice
Guo.
Alice what?
Guo.
Yeah, Alice Guo. He's the male Alice Guo, right? Because he is, God, he has a birth certificate. Jesus Mary.
Mining executive. Yeah.
So I don't know how many there are. But obviously, that is because of graft and corruption, not on the high places, but in the lowest.
So, yun nga, yung question ko, ma'am, how close are we to economic sabotage or the extent of corruption?
One never knows. We caught Alice Guo in time, and we caught this boy in time, but we don't know how many more there are. How many more there are. But
how much
it's not
longer?
only a threat to our national security, it's a threat to our national survival, for God's sake, because this graft and corruption has kept us down, and we keep on saying no, but we grow. We're doing. We're growing faster than anybody else. How long will that last? Duterte said in his first year, we're growing faster than anybody else. How long did it last? We cannot talk only about short term. We've got to talk about the long term. We've got to talk about the rule of law. We cannot weaponize the law. The politicians cannot weaponize the law against their enemies. That's what they're doing. They cannot weaponize the law against their enemies or in favor of themselves. They cannot do that. We have to stop them.
I guess the question in everybody's mind talaga is this:
Can we do it?
can we still do it?
Of course we can.
Can we survive this?
Look at the
Which
Filipino.
generation can actually turn this around?
You cannot imagine how much I admire the Filipino. We are trying to educate them. We have programs that are good, really. The 4-piece program that breaks the intergenerational transfer of property. That's a good program. It's not all bad. It's just that we're concentrating on what is bad. But we have done so many things. We have broken some dynasties. But it's hard. And it takes perseverance. And that's what we should have. That's what we should aspire for. But can the Filipino do it? Of course we can.
But that's why I ask you, how do you get people to have this same fervor that you have? That they keep trying and trying, even though all other past attempts
I've been trying
have
and
failed.
trying for the past 50 years.
Exactly.
And I will try again. Because, no kidding, you'll find it corny. I think the Philippines is the only country I have.